Thank you very much, Lucas. I will present some ideas what we have in the flagship region, Austria Power and Gas, where I'm from the early beginning. That was in 2016, the CEO and also the so-called Obmann of the association. So as I already said, WIVA P&G is an association, and it was founded only to coordinate this model region, where there are already 3 model regions in Austria for energy, and we are the only one dealing with, more or less the only one dealing with hydrogen and climate neutral gases, because we believe that green hydrogen as well as climate neutral gases will be the key components in the future, a little bit more, in my opinion, as we already heard at the early stage from Günther Paulic. We had a strategy workshop where we really wanted to show who we are, what we want to do. We want to make knowledge in the community on hydrogen as well as on green gases, climate neutral gases. We focus on research development, and very important, we also focus on innovation. We need international and national partnerships, and everybody of you is invited to get part of our association. I will stick more or less on this one slide, because I believe all what we heard in these 2 first presentations are only part of this. If we really want to change to a new climate neutral energy system, would also mean to a climate neutral economic system, we have to have in mind that we have to produce primary energy. And this primary energy can either be renewable electricity, if we look at it on a really climate neutral basis. It could be biomass, what we already heard, where I believe that biomass in most of the cases should only be used in the energy sector at the end of lifetime, not at the early beginning. If you see at the moment what happens with the price of wood, you may see what I mean. And of course, we have to think of methane, because methane, if we think of some kind of pyrolysis, it could also be of interest for the decarbonization of biogas. Maybe we need some things. Nobody of us really know if it's necessary to get all the decreases on carbon dioxide we also have to get out of the system, even CO2 what produced via biomass. So by having these primary productions, we have the secondary production, hydrogen via electrolysis, but hydrogen also via pyrolysis. If it's biogas, then of course it's a renewable hydrogen. If it's methane coming from natural gas, of course it is a decarbonized hydrogen, where we have to have in mind that of course with the carbon we have to have a product what can be used for different kinds, but of course the market is not available. And then of course we can make biogas either over biogas or over gasification. And now it's the most important one. And where should it go? First of all, we have to distribute and store it. We learned it in the early from that we need some kind of storage, especially if we think of up to 100% renewable system in whole Europe, not only in Austria. We have the advantage of roughly more than 60% of hydropower. But if you think of whole Europe, we have to have in mind that we need a lot of storage. And that, in my opinion, hydrogen as well as methane could be a very good storage. And we here in Austria have also the possibility that the storages are available, that the technologies are more or less available. We have a very, in my opinion, we have a very good infrastructure with the gas network. But of course, we can also think what Rudi said. Ship is also, in my opinion, an important way, especially if we think of areas where we don't have the gas infrastructure when we see in the eastern part of Europe. But on the road, I believe, especially if we need it for mobility, we'll also have a necessity for this road transport system. And here also Austria, in my opinion, has a relatively good situation. We on the one hand have fuel stations coming out of Austria, but we also have transport vessels up to 300 bar, what we can use for the transport on road. So, and now where to use it? Most of you believe in industry. I also believe in industry, because we need it as chemical feedstock. We need it for high temperature processes, especially if we can't use the electricity. But there's one thing what we have to have in mind. The industrial sector, in my opinion, will not ask for hydrogen, for a big amount of hydrogen, earlier than 2030, maybe even 2035. And then, of course, if you see only on the example what we gained in the first presentation, for voestalpine, it's 20 terawatt hours. So the question is, how should we go the way to reach in 2020 all the capacities for this electrolysis or even for pyrolysis? Therefore, I believe that mobility on the one hand, especially heavy-duty traffic and ships, but on the other hand, also the energy sector could be a very important one. And if we think of what especially the first speaker and as well as our moderator said, no, we don't want to get these gas pipelines anymore in our cities. I'm not 100% sure if this is the right way for the next short future. For the long future, I agree with most of you, but for the short future, and they would say that it would be 2035, it's, in my opinion, maybe a wrong way, especially if we think of the overall necessity of investment what we have to take. If you compare, for example, a fuel cell, which is also be able to produce electricity when heat is needed in winter time, to a boiler using wood chips or to a heat pump. So we should really have in mind if this could be not a possibility also for the next future to use the existing infrastructure. As I said, the Austrian energy model region will be on green energy, green industry, green mobility. We have already 30 projects completed, and they are ongoing, and another 25 projects should involve in the next 5 to 6 years in the model region, together with all different companies involved, but also with European and international contracts that are already running. These are the main projects what we have at the moment, in the Vorzeigeregion. You will get anyhow the slide, so I drop it. And this is, in my opinion, also a very important slide, because it shows that hydrogen and the technologies we are dealing with are spread all over Austria. We have a center in the west, in Tyrol. We have the center in Upper Austria, where Verbund already showed us a little bit. We have a center in Graz, where also we get some impressions from Rudi Zauner. And then, of course, the very important center in Vienna, where we will hear a little bit more in the last presentation of today, but also you have to have in mind that this is the center of OMV and also some parts of Borealis. So what I want to give in this discussion is we have to use hydrogen and especially decarbonized and therefore carbon neutral gases in the next years, and not only in industry, but in my opinion, in all uses what I have shown. And so I stop and thank for your attention.